Welcome to the tutorial on organizational behavior. Today the chapter is leadership. What is leadership? To understand the leadership, we can compare the leadership and management. But sometimes some researchers and practitioners don't distinguish between the leadership and management. But there are some key differences between this leadership and management that will help us to manage the behavior in the employees of the organization. Leadership is the ability to influence the group of people for achieving the organizational goals. A leader does not have to be someone who holds a formal position or title. The leaders can emerge from a group and provide vision and motivation to those around them. On the other hand, management deals with the complexity of the organization and works with the planning, organizing, leading, controlling to bring about the order and consistency in the organization. The manager uses the authority inherent in designated formal rank to obtain compliance from organizational members. That means the leader does not have any formal rank or position. On the other hand, the management has the formal rank or position. They try to ensure that all the employees are complying with the organizational rules. On the other hand, the leader influences the group of people to achieve the organizational goals. From this discussion, we can say that these two roles have different areas of focus, but both the leadership and management are essential for the organizational success. Trait theories of leadership. The trait theory of leadership looks at the personality, social, physical, or intellectual traits that differentiate leaders from the non-leaders. Initially, this theory was based on studies that looked at over 80 different traits which allowed almost anything to be defined as leadership. A breakthrough occurred when researchers began to organize the traits into categories. This became known as the Big Five personality framework, where 5 groups of traits were found to be consistently present among the leaders. Some essential leadership traits include extroversion, conscientiousness, openness, emotional intelligence. Although emotional intelligence and leadership has not been fully explored. With the many years of research dedicated to the trait theory of leadership, it is widely accepted that traits can predict leadership, but they are better at predicting the leader emergence than effectiveness. It is more likely that the trait theory predict the emergence of the leader than the effectiveness of a leader. Behavioral theories of leadership. In response to some disappointments with the trait theory that was discussed in the previous slide, the researcher began to look at defining leadership by how people behaved. This shifted of thinking on leadership from the belief that you could select the leaders based on the inborn traits to training the leaders to behave in a certain way. However, the behavioral theories of leadership implies that specific behaviors differentiate leaders from non-leaders. The difference between the trait theory and behavioral theory is that the trait theory implies that leadership is inherent or inborn. So we must identify the leader based on the traits of the employees. On the other hand, the behavioral theory implies that leadership is a skill set and can be taught to anyone. So we must identify the proper behaviors to teach potential leaders. Important behavioral studies. Two key studies in the area of behavioral leadership advanced our understanding of the theory. The first theory was done at Ohio State University. They looked at the important dimensions of leadership behavior and began with over 100 dimensions. In the end, the Ohio State studies were able to narrow it down to 2 dimensions: initiating structure and consideration. Initiating structure is when the leader is able to define and structure their role and that of their employees to work toward the goals of the organization. On the other hand, consideration is the ability of the leader to gain the trust and respect of their followers and to help them feel appreciated for what they do. Both the behaviors have proven to be very important in an effective leader. The University of Michigan studies identified 2 key dimensions of leadership behavior as well. They are similar in nature to the Ohio State findings. However, the University of Michigan studies classified this behavior as employee-oriented, which looks at the interpersonal relationships between the leader and the followers, and production-oriented, which focuses on the technical aspect of the job. Again, both these employee-oriented and production-oriented are important for successful leadership. Employee-oriented looks at the interpersonal relationship between the leader and the followers, and production-oriented focuses on the technical aspect of the employees. Contingency theories of leadership. We can learn a lot from the trait and behavior theories, but they do not tell the whole story. It is important to understand the environment that the leader is in to fully understand the leadership effectiveness. The contingency theory takes the context in which the leader is operating into consideration, and this contingency theory tries to isolate the conditions that allow for effective leadership. There are 3 key theories that enhance our understanding of leadership by expanding situational variables. They are the Fiedler's model, Hersey and Blanchard's situational leadership theory, and path goal theory. So these 3 theories will give us a clear idea about the situations or conditions or the contingency to get a clear idea about the effective leadership. Fiedler model. The Fiedler model is one of the theories of contingency theories of leadership. In this theory, Fiedler is trying to match the leader to the context. Fiedler proposes that leadership style is fixed so that if the situation needs a charismatic leader, your current leader does not exhibit that style, you need to change the leaders. This leadership style can be determined by taking the LPC questionnaire. What is LPC? LPC means least preferred coworker. Under the Fiedler theory, it is assumed that effective group performance depends on the proper match between the leadership style and the degree to which the situation gives the leader control. However, after the leadership style is determined, you can match the leader to the situation. There are 3 dimensions to find a successful match. The first situational factor is the leader-member relationship. This ties back to our behavioral studies by looking at the degree of trust and respect the employees have for the leader. That means leader-membership relationships indicates the degree of confidence and trust in the leader. And the second factor is the amount of structure that is embedded in job assignment. And the last factor is the amount of influence the leader has over the decisions that represent power, such as hiring, firing, and rewards. According to the Fiedler model, you need to find a leader to fit the situation or change the situation to fit the leader in order to achieve effective leadership for the organization. To understand the Fiedler model of leadership theories, there is a graphical representation. You can use this graph to determine which type of leader to use in a given situation. So we can see there are 8 possible situations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 possible situations in which a leader can find themselves in. By matching their least preferred coworker score with these 8 different situations, a leader can see where they will be most effective. As per example, suppose if there is a good leader-member relations and high task structure and strong position power, then you can use the task-oriented leadership. In the same way, if there is a good leader-member relations and high task structure and weak position power, you can also use the task-oriented leadership. In the same way, if there is a good leader-member relations, low task structure and strong position power, you can also use the task-oriented leadership. But in the situation of 4, 5 and 6, you can use the relationship-oriented leadership. Suppose if there is a good leader-member relation, low task structure and weak position power, you can use the relationship-oriented leadership. In the same way, if there is a poor leader-member relations, high task structure and strong position power, as well as if there is a poor leader-member relation, high task structure and weak position power, you can use the relationship-oriented leadership. In the situation of 7th and 8th, you can use the task-oriented leadership. What are the situation? Poor leader-member relations, low task structure and strong position power, as well as poor leader-member relations, low task structure and weak position power. In these 2 situations, you can apply the task-oriented leadership. On the other hand, the situation from 4 to 6, you can apply the relationship-oriented leadership. That means the categories of 4 through 6 would be better suited to relationship-oriented leaders because Fiedler proposes that they perform best in moderately favorable situations. Assessment of Fiedler's model of leadership theory. The Fiedler model has some positive side as well as there are some problem. Fiedler's model is based on the great deal of evidence that has supported his assertions, and he has moved us forward in our understanding of effective leadership. Positive side of Fiedler model is that it has a considerable evidence supports the model, especially if the original 8 situations are grouped into 3. However, this Fiedler's model is not without its problem. The first problem is the LPC, the least preferred coworker scale, is a tool that is not easy to understand, so it is difficult to utilize the tool in the workplace. The LPC score, LPC means least preferred coworker. These scores have not remained stable with all participants, thereby causing one to question Fiedler's premise that leadership traits are stable. And finally, the contingency variables used in this model are extremely complex and hard to measure, causing difficulty in applying this model to the organizational context. Situational leadership theory. The situational leadership theory offers a model that takes a look at the other side of the equation, the followers. The focus of this situational leadership theory is on the readiness of the follower to follow. Each follower can decide for themselves whether they will accept or reject the leader. If the leader is to be effective, the followers must choose to accomplish the task the leader has given to them. The situational leadership theory looks at readiness and defines it as the extent to which people have the ability and willingness to accomplish a specific task. That means situational leadership theory focuses on the readiness of the follower, and readiness indicates the ability and willingness to accomplish the task by the followers. A leader should choose one of the 4 behaviors depending on the follower readiness. If the followers are unable and unwilling to do a task, the leader needs to give a clear and specific directions. If the followers are unable and willing, the leader needs to display high task orientation to compensate for followers' lack of ability and high relationship orientation to get them to buy into the leader's desires. And if the followers are able and unwilling, the leader needs to use a supportive and participative style. And if they are both able and willing, the leader does not need to do much because already they are able and willing to perform the specific task. However, based on the 4 types of readiness of the followers, the leader can manage the behavior of the employees to get a effective output from the employees. Houses path goal theory. This path goal theory is another types of contingency theory of leadership. This theory is built from the Ohio State studies and the expectancy theory of motivation. And this path goal theory builds upon the previously discussed models to define the role of the leader. In this path goal theory, it is the job of the leader to provide the followers with the information, support, and other necessary resources to equip them to achieve their goals. The very name of the theory is path goal. That implies that if a leader is going to be effective, they must clarify the followers' path to the goals of the organization. In fact, the leader should make the journey easier by removing roadblocks. The leader should display multiple leadership types. They should clarify the path to achieve the goals of the organization. That is why the theory is known as path goal theory, and it's the responsibility of the leader to provide the required information and support and resources to achieve the goal, and that will be known as path goal theory. Under this theory, the leader should show the path to the followers that will help the employees to achieve the goals of the organization. Under the path goal theory, there are 4 main types of leaders. They are directive leadership, supportive leadership, participative leadership, and achievement-oriented leadership. The directive approach focuses on the work tasks that need to be accomplished, and the supportive approach is more about relationships and the well-being of the worker. In a participative approach, the leader works with the employees to include them in the decision-making process, and in the achievement-oriented approach, the leader sets challenging goals and encourages the workers to accomplish those goals. Broom and Yeaton's leader participation model. Victor Broom stated that I don't see any form of leadership as optimal for all situations. The contributions of a leader's actions to the effectiveness of his organization cannot be determined without considering the nature of the situation in which that behavior is displayed. The Broom-Yeaton's participation model is based on the fact that situational variables with leadership attributes and characteristics in a way that it impacts the behavior of the leader. That's why the leader must adjust the behaviors according to the structure of the organization. This contingency model provides an approach for leaders to follow based on the task structure, leadership style, and various other contingency factors. However, this participation model focuses on the adjustment of the leader according to the structure of the organization. This is a normative model that tells the leader how participative to be in the decision making of a decision tree. However, this model has 5 leadership styles and 12 contingency variables. Leader-member exchange theory of leadership. The contingency theories, the Fiedler model, situational theory, and path goal theory of leadership have failed to account the followers and the heterogeneous leadership approaches to individual workers. The leader-member exchange theory begins to account for this. In this leader-member exchange theory, the premise is that because of time pressure, leaders very quickly form special relationships with a small group of employees that is called in-group. This in-group tends to be like the leader in terms of gender, race, age, and the other characteristics. This in-group quickly becomes the part of the leader's inner circle of communication, and this in-group will receive more time and attention from the leader. This in-group will experience more stress because of the added workload. There are lots of responsibilities from the leader because they're in the inner circle of the leader's communication, and they get more time and attention from the leader. On the other hand, in the out group, the circle is made of people who tend to be different than the leader and correspondingly receive fewer exchange with the leader. As a result, they are more likely to experience stress because of their relationship, and the outgroup people may retaliate against the organization as they become discontent with their assignments. Charismatic leadership. The word charisma comes from the Greek word meaning gift. When talking about the charismatic leadership, the leader who will refer to someone with certain gifts and abilities. A charismatic leader will often gain followers through personality rather than through power or authority. That means the charismatic leader gets lots of followers due to their personality. Charismatic leader don't use power or authority to get popularity. To be a charismatic leader, the leader should have vision, the leader should take the personal risk, the leader should have the sensitivity to the followers, and the leader should have unconventional behavior. The leader must have vision expressed as an idealized goal. The leader must be willing to take on high personal risk and engage in self-sacrifice to achieve the vision. In doing so, the leader needs to remain sensitive to the feelings of the followers, and they should also understand the needs of the followers. Throughout this process, the leader must be engaging in behaviors that are perceived as counter to norms. That means the leader should have unconventional behavior. How do charismatic leaders influence the followers? The evidence shows a 4-step process can help the charismatic leader utilize their characteristics to influence the followers. The first is the leader articulates a long-term strategy for achieving a goal. This strategy should fit the vision and uniqueness of the organization. And next, the leader needs to formalize that vision by creating a vision statement. Charismatic leaders will often use this vision statement to reinforce the goal and purpose of the organization. This vision is communicated in a way that expresses the leader's excitement and commitment to the goal. Next, the leader will use his words and actions to communicate a new set of values for the followers to imitate. Then the charismatic leader will try to find behaviors that demonstrate their commitment to the vision. They will choose behaviors that will help followers catch the emotions the leader is conveying and help achieve buy-in of the followers. Finally, the charismatic leader engages in emotion-inducing and often unconventional behavior to demonstrate courage and conviction about the vision to help the followers catch the vision. So these are the 4 steps by which the charismatic leader can influence the followers. Transformational leaders. Transformational leaders help the followers to look at the bigger picture and commit to the good of the organization, even if it means setting their own goals aside. However, we can see there are two approaches of leadership: transactional leadership and transformational leadership. Under the transformational leaderships, the leader inspires the followers to transcend their self-interest for the good of the organizational goal. We can see the transactional leadership approach focuses on contingent reward, management by exception active, management by exception passive, and laissez-faire. On the other hand, the transformational leadership approach focuses on idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. Both these two approaches are not contradictory in nature. In fact, they can complement each other. The transformational leadership often is built upon the transactional leadership. Good leaders will incorporate both transactional and transformational components. As already discussed in the previous slide, the transactional approach focuses on the 4 behaviors that start with the laissez-faire, which is most passive, and management by exception active, management by exception passive, and ultimately contingent reward. The final 4 behaviors on the model represent the transformational actions. This model shows that the leaders utilizes more transformational behaviors, they become more effective. Authentic leadership is a growing area of research. There are 2 components that need to be addressed when discussing authenticity in leadership. First, we must look at authentic leaders. These are leaders who engage in reflection and understand who they are, what they believe, and bring those 2 aspects together in their actions. That means the authentic leaders know who they are, what they believe in and value, and act upon those values and beliefs. On the other hand, the second component of the authentic leadership is ethics and leadership. Over the first several years, we have been involved in what many have called an ethical crisis in the business community. When we look at leadership, we need to look at more than the results of the leader. We must also look at the steps the leader took to achieve those results. That means the leadership is not free from values. When we assess the leadership, we must assess not just the goals themselves, but also the means by which those goals are achieved. That means during the measurement of the leadership approach, you have to consider what type of ethical concern followed by the leader. Trust and leadership. Trust indicates the psychological state that exists when you agree to make yourself vulnerable to another because you have a positive expectation for how things are going to turn out. That means trust is a situation where the employees agree to make themselves vulnerable to the leader because they have a positive expectation for how things are going to turn out. So this trust is a key attribute associated with the leadership. The followers who trust their leader will align their actions and attitudes with the leader's behaviors and requests. That means when trust is present, the followers are willing to do so as the leader asks and engage in behaviors that are for the benefit of the organization. In short, followers will do a lot more for a leader they trust than for the one that does not hold their trust. That means if the employees trust the leader, they will do desired actions and they will show desired attitudes that will increase the performance because they will accept all directions from the leader that will increase the productivity of the organization. How is trust developed? Trust is developed over time. The interactions between the leaders and the followers are part of the development of trust. It goes both ways. Research has shown that the three main characteristics of a leader that install trust are integrity, ability, and benevolence. These three characteristics are important in developing trust between the leaders and the followers. If the followers perceive these characteristics as strong in their leaders, it will encourage positive behaviors such as risk-taking, information sharing, group interactions, and productivity. That means trust is developed over time and it depends on the leadership actions such as integrity, benevolence, and ability, and such characteristics of the leader will increase the trust among the employees, and whenever there is a trust, the employees will take risk, there will be a information sharing, there will be a group effectiveness, and ultimately there will be a increased productivity in the organization by which the leader can achieve the goals of the organization. Thank you.